Hi, and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann, and today we're going to play with Distress Stain. Distress Stain is one of my all-time favorite art supplies, and I think it's one that I tend to rely on as kind of a foolproof technique for whenever I need a really nice-looking handmade card or art journaling page. And you can do a lot of different techniques with distress stains, but today I'm going to show you how to do a resist background technique and also a shadow stamping technique. So the first thing I want to bring in is something for my background, and this is a piece of white glossy cardstock, and I've heat embossed a pattern on here. You can probably just see it. It's white ultra fine embossing powder, so it's white on white, which is a little tricky to see. But this is a spatter pattern, and it's from a stamp. You've got to get ready for this. A really, really big stamp. This is from a company called Impression Obsession. And my mom gave me this stamp, and she said that she's really enjoyed using these really big stamps. They're 5 3/4 of an inch square, just as stamping her background. And if you're like me, you maybe have had, been around in the stamping world for a while, and you've tried some of the really big stamps with maybe less than successful results every time. So I was a little skeptical, but I was also really excited to discover that this works beautifully and you get a really crisp, lovely pattern every single time. I think it's because of their mega mount, because this kind of rocking mechanism and the nice great big handle gives you even pressure, and I didn't have to spend a lot of time getting a perfect image. So really, really happy with that. And that's the spatter design. And so once I heat emboss this, I've got my resist paper ready to distress. Now, I'm going to use the distress stain that comes in picked raspberries, the color. And you need to give these a shake before you apply them. The really nice thing about this is the dabber applicator, because the distress stain is a fluid pigment. So otherwise, it would be really difficult to get it onto your paper. And this makes it just so easy. So I'm just rubbing it on. I'm not really paying much attention to the pattern or the design or the direction that I'm going in. Just kind of rub it on. And you can see that the white of my embossing powder is already starting to resist. And then what I can do after I've got this all colored is come back with a damp cloth, or a dry cloth, excuse me, and just blot away the ink that was on the erased embossed areas, and I've got my background. Now, one thing about this, you'll notice with my original card project, this looks a little bit darker, and that's because I did 2 go-rounds with the distress stain. So you can add a couple more layers of color to increase the intensity of that. So here's my super fast, super easy resist background paper with distress stain. Now, the other thing I want to show you is how to create a stamped image with this. So once again, I'm going to bring in my glossy white cardstock, just a strip of this, and I'm going to stamp with my stain. And the stamp I'm using here is from Penny Black. This is the Chandelier, and this is one, as you can tell by the state of my stamp, that I have used quite a lot. So I'm also going to bring in another color. This is Evergreen Bow. So I have Evergreen Bow and I have Picked Raspberry are my colors. Oh, once again, better shake this up again. And then I'm just going to tap this on to the leaves or the stems up here at the top. And then come back with my Picked Raspberry. Tap this on. You can see this is where the dabber applicator is wonderful as well. And then I'm going to bring in a mister. This is a little mini mister. And I'm going to spray this pretty generously. Come back and stamp. And then lift this off, and you can see I have a very, very watery image, which is exactly what I want. Because when it dries, and it won't take very long to dry, but when it dries, it will look like this. And the nice thing that I can do now, come back and clean off my stamp, and I'm just using a baby wipe to clean this off. Cleans off really easily. Pat it dry, and then I'm going to come back with my Stays On ink pad. And this is really important to use because StazOn is meant for non-porous surfaces, and of course glossy cardstock is a non-porous surface. So you're definitely going to want to use a StazOn for this one. Okay, so I'm just inking it up. And here's going to be the tricky part for me because I'm sitting kind of backwards from my stamped piece here. And I need to sort of aim this on top. Now, of course, this is going to be a lot easier with a clear acrylic stamp, but you can still do it. It does not have to be perfect because it'll be sort of impossible to do it perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this, lift, and I have a pretty close match. So then I just need to let this dry as well. And the really cool thing I think about this is that it gives it that sort of offset printed look. It's a bit of a vintage style, I think, and I really love how the black accents the very soft colors of the distress stains. So let me bring back in my original card and talk a little bit about what else I did to make the card. So I just trimmed down my piece of resist background paper and alternated with white and orange cardstock on here. And I like the orange with the hot pink. I think it's just a really fun, bright, and very cheerful color combination. And then to accent the black in my stamped image, I went with a black and white ribbon going around here. And this has just been matted and put down onto the front of the card. So it's a very simple card design, but one that I think is especially effective and would work beautifully for just about any occasion. So here are two ways that you can use distress stain, one for a background and one for a shadow stamping technique. I hope you enjoyed today's segment. Thanks so much for stopping by. For more inspiration, please do come on by my website at saranaumann.com. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.